Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. So for this log, we're kicking off our brand new mini series on shaders with SDL2 and OpenGL in C. So in this first log, we'll set up our SDL2 with an OpenGL context, the foundation for all our upcoming graphics and shader experiments. So we'll make sure everything compiles, initialize with glue, print our OpenGL version, and render our very first black screen. So by the end of this video, you'll have a clean working SDL2 plus OpenGL base ready for building shaders, textures, and awesome GPU effect. So let's dive right into the code. So for the project structure, we will going to have a CMake list.txt and the main.c file. So first, we will going to examine the CMake list.txt. So for the CMake list file, so here in line 1, we will going to set the minimum required version of the CMake, which is version 3.16. And then we're going to set a title or the project title in line 2. For line 4 up to 6, we will going to set the CMake C standards. In line 9, we're going to set or specify the output directories, so the executable file will be saved in /bin folder. And then in line 12 up to 14, we will going to find the required packages or libraries that we need, which is the OpenGL, SDL2, and glue. So in line 17, we're going to have or set the source file, which is the main.c. So in line 20 up to 23, we're going to have the executable targets, or we're going to add executables. So here in line 26 up to 31, we will going to have our target include directories. 39, we will going to have our link libraries or target link libraries. So in line 50 up to 52, we will going to have our compiler settings or the target compiled features. So in line 55 up to 59, we're going to enable all the warnings, so recommended for dev build. So in line 62 up to 66, we will going to have a platform specified fixes. Now inside the C file, we're going to initialize the SDL2 and OpenGL via glue, and then create a window with an OpenGL rendering context, then runs a main loop that handles input and renders each frames, and then clean up before exiting. So in line 8 up to line 11, we will going to include our libraries. In line 13 up to 14, we define our constant, defining the window width and height. In line 21 up to 23, these are the function prototypes. It will set up SDL and OpenGL, checks for events like key presses or window close, and then clears the screen each frame. Now in line 29, we have our main function. The main function creates the variables for the SDL window and OpenGL context. It will call the init SDL OpenGL function. If it fails, the program will exit. So for the line 31 up to 35, it will going to create the variables for the SDL window and OpenGL context, and it calls the init SDL OpenGL function. If it's failed, the program will exit. The variable argc and argb is unused here, so for the completeness, we just add it in the main parameters. So in line 48 up to 52, we have our main loop. So the main loop will runs while the running is true. So the process input or the process underscore input function will check for the quit or keyboard events. Then the render function draws the frame. Lastly, SDL swap window function swaps the front and the back buffer to display the frame. And then in line 58 up to 60, we will going to have the cleanup. So it will going to delete the OpenGL context, destroy the SDL window, and shuts down the SDL completely. Now in line 65, we have our init underscore SDL underscore OpenGL function. This function will initialize the SDL2 with OpenGL. So here in line 68 of 273, we will going to initialize the SDL video subsystem. If it fails, it will going to print the error message and stop. So if it's successful, it will going to print the OK SDL initialized. Now in line 78 up to 80, we have to set the OpenGL version 3.3 core and then request the OpenGL 3.3 core profile. So an OpenGL 3.3 core is a modern version of OpenGL without deprecated features. So in line 85 up to 98, we're going to have our creation of window. So we're going to create a window that supports the OpenGL rendering and is visible to the SDL window shown. So it will going to show that for the visibility of our window. So here we will going to set the position of our window to center. And then we will going to print out an error message if the window creation is failed, and else if the creation is successful, we're going to print out a window created. Now in line 102 up to 108, we will going to have our OpenGL context creation. So this tells that SDL to create a OpenGL rendering context tied to the window. So here when we create our OpenGL context, if the creation fails, we're going to print out an error message, and if the creation is successful, we print out a message context creation or OK context creation. In line 113 up to 119, we have our glue initialization. So we're going to initialize the glue, and glue will load all the modern OpenGL function pointers. Without this, the modern function like shaders wouldn't be available. And then we're going to print out an error message if it fails the initialization, and then we print out a OK glue initialized if it's successful. So in line 126 is for enabling the vsync, so the synchronization or to synchronize the frame updates with the display refresh rate. So in line 129 we have, or we're going to set the OpenGL viewport. Now in line 133 we will going to have, or we're going to set the default color to black. So we'll set the background color to black. So here the RGBA, or the red, green, and blue, and the opacity. Now in line 143 up to 153, we have our process underscore input function. So this handles the keyboard or window events. So it loops through all SDL events. If the window is closed, SDL underscore quit, or the ESC is pressed, well, it will going to set the running to false. So it will going to exit the loop. So in line 160 up to 162, we have the render function. So it clears the color buffer with the color set in GL clear color function. So this is where the drawing will happen. So for now, it just clears the screen each frame. Now we're going to build our project, and then we're going to utilize the CMake build system, and the CMake will generate the executable file, and then we're going to execute that executable file saved in bin folder. Now as you can see in our output in terminal, we have our SDL initialized, and then we have the window created, context creation, and glue initialized, and then the window appear. And that's it for the first log. We've successfully created our very first SDL2 plus OpenGL window and verified everything's working smoothly. So in the next log, we'll create our first vertex and fragment shaders and start rendering shapes using modern OpenGL. So if you find this helpful, hit the like button and subscribe. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.